My name is Mark. I'm 38. I was not a dreamer. I never chased easy money. Everything I had, I earned myself, without connections, without startup capital. I built my life like a foundation, carefully, level, without crooked walls. I worked in finance. I planned a budget. I kept track of every ruble. My loved ones always said, "Mark, you are reliable. I feel safe with you." And I was proud of it, until I lost everything. Not because of the war, not because of the divorce, not because of the crisis, because of one decision that seemed absolutely logical, and the biggest enemy of any calculating person, trust. It was not a scam with an ad. He was an old acquaintance of mine. We studied together, then he went abroad, returned a few years later. He spoke confidently, with numbers, examples, with a presentation and an open face. The project was simple. A closed investment pool, real estate, logistics, assets, stability, moderate growth, minimum risk. You understand the market, he said. We need people like you, with a head. I didn't invest everything at once. I observed, asked questions, analyzed, and everything came together. There was no smell of greed. There were no promises of twice as much in a month, only reasonable interest rates, transparency. We're in business, and I invested. First, 10,000, then another 15, then 30, and then my entire fund. Everything I'd been saving for almost 10 years. For an apartment, for freedom, for a future where I could choose and not cling to an office. 7 months passed, and then a letter arrived. Polite, with legalese. Considering external circumstances, we are temporarily freezing payments. We are waiting for restructuring. Thank you for your understanding. I froze. Then he started calling, writing, requesting. The answers were getting shorter and shorter, and then they disappeared completely. They disappeared. The website wouldn't open. The phones were out of range. The address was fake. The company was fictitious. And I was left with Excel tables where everything was so correct, and with a banking app where there was no money. You don't scream at such moments. You just fall inside yourself. As if the earth opened up and you fly, without screaming, without resistance. You just fly where it's dark. I didn't tell anyone, even my sister, even my friends. Because a grown man who went broke is not a reason for sympathy. It's usually a reason for ridicule. What did you expect? How could you? Sounded in my head even without strangers. I went into silence. Work turned into a mechanical routine. Food into fuel. Nights into endless sessions of self-flagellation. A couple of months later, my mother fell ill. I realized that I didn't even have time for a checkup. I sold the equipment. I took on a part-time job. I gave lectures, did analytics for other people's businesses in the evenings. I slept for 3 hours, and I kept repeating, "It's my own fault. Myself, myself, myself." I had dreams. How I signed the contract again, shake hands again, smile again. And I wake up with the feeling that someone has pulled my soul out. You can lose money, but when you lose the meaning, it's even scarier. And then a person I no longer remembered wrote to me. It turned out that several years ago, I helped him draw up a business plan, just like that, without payment. He was just starting out, didn't know where to start. He wrote, "Hello, I don't know if you remember me. I now run a chain of coffee shops. I was thinking about you recently. How are you, anyway?" I didn't know what to say, but he invited me for coffee. We met. He spoke calmly, easily, as if I was still the same Mark who could be trusted. And suddenly he said, "You once helped me get out. Let me do the same." And he held out an envelope. I wanted to refuse. He smiled, not as a debt, as a starting point. All I have to do is go back to yourself. That evening I walked down the street with this envelope in my pocket, and I cried, quietly, not from humiliation, but from gratitude, for the fact that someone remembers you as good when you have forgotten everything about yourself. 2.5 years have passed since then. I have not become a millionaire, but I started talking about my mistake, about trust, about how easy it is to lose and how hard it is to start over. I opened a small course about financial security, not how to get rich, but how not to end up in a hole. I write articles. I give lectures. I help others not to remain silent. You can get your money back, sometimes, but getting yourself back is more important. I am not ashamed. I was honest. And I was deceived, not because I am a fool, but because I am a human being. And being a human being is not a weakness. If you are reading this now, with an empty account, with clenched fists, with a headache from numbers, know this. You are not alone. You are not a failure, not a mistake. You are just at a turning point, and this is not the end. This is the beginning. Only now you are not going for the money. You are going for yourself.